People are sometimes confused about the chi-square test of model fit in Mplus, and that's because Mplus for structural equation models and confirmatory factor models and path models gives two different chi-square tests of model fit, and so sometimes people don't know which one to pick and what they both mean. So I want to walk you through that in this brief video here. So under model fit information, when you run a structural equation model, path model or confirmatory factor model in Mplus with maximum likelihood estimation, then you will find that there's a chi-square test of model fit that is reported first, as you can see here. And that chi-square test of model fit is the test for the target model, so meaning for the model that you specified and that you want to test. So that's the one that you want to look at for finding out about the fit of the model that you specified. Here you can see this fit, this chi-square fit for our target model here is good. The chi-square value is 0.165 with 1 degree of freedom, and so that chi-square value is not significant, meaning the model is not rejected at the 0.05 level because the p-value is greater than 0.05. It's 0.6847, indicating good model fit. Now what about the second test? When you scroll down a little bit, you can see that there's another chi-square test, and this one is called chi-square test of model fit for the baseline model. And so again, you get a chi-square value, you get degrees of freedom, and you get a p-value. And you can see that chi-square does not look good, right? So that chi-square value is extremely high, 961, 6 degrees of freedom, and it's extremely highly significant. The p-value is extremely small. So that shows us the baseline model is rejected. Now, should that concern us? Is this a problem? Is this a good thing? What does this mean? So in order to understand that, we first have to talk about what the baseline model is that Mplus uses here. So the baseline model that is being tested here is a model where the covariances among the variables are all assumed to be 0 in the population. In this example here, we have a model for 4 observed variables. So as a result of having 4 observed or manifest variables, we have 6 covariances. With 4 variables, if you covary each variable with each other variable, you have 6 non-redundant covariances. If you don't believe me, then you can take a look at the descriptive statistics here. And so when you look at the observed covariance matrix for those 4 manifest variables y1, y2, y3, y4, you can see that here off diagonal we have 6 values. Those are the covariances. The values on the diagonal here, 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 and here are the variances. Those are the covariances of the variables with themselves. And so off diagonal or below that variance diagonal, we have the 6 covariances here. And so in the baseline model, those 6 covariances are assumed to be 0 in the population. So therefore, this is also called a null model or an independence model because it assumes that the variables are not related. So that's a very, very basic hypothesis, so to say, to test is whether the variables in our data set are at all related. Now, why is this interesting to test a baseline model like this, where the variables are assumed to be unrelated, or linearly unrelated, I should say, because the covariances, they refer to the linear relationships between those variables. So why does this make any sense? It does make sense because if the independence or null or baseline model did fit our data, so if this model were not rejected, then we could stop with our modeling, because what we're doing typically with factor models, path models, and structural equation models is we're modeling relationships between observed variables in one way or another. And so if there are no linear relationships between the variables, if they are uncorrelated or have 0 covariances, then it doesn't make sense to have a factor model, for example. Like in this case, I fit a 2-factor model to these data, and so if there weren't any substantially or any covariances that were different from 0, then the 2-factor model would be nonsensical. That the factor model has to or requires that there be significant correlations among those variables. And that's the case also for path models, for structure equation models, where we expect that there should be significant correlations. And so if we find that an omnibus test that all covariances are 0 is not significant, then that would mean that the independence model fits. The variables aren't related and we could stop. There's no need to fit a more sophisticated model in that case, because typically we want to model the covariance structure. Now we could still fit a model for the variances and the means, of course, even if the covariances are all 0. However, that's typically not what we're aiming for with factor models, path models, and structure equation models. So that's to say the idea behind this, or that's one idea, is to test this very basic hypothesis that all the covariances are 0, and so that hypothesis is rejected. This test is significant, indicating that there are significant relationships among at least some of the variables in our data set. And so you can see that too when you look at the correlation matrix, which is the standardized covariance matrix. Here you can see we have some very substantial correlations. One is almost 0.8, one is 0.675. The other ones are also substantial, between 0.43 and 0.48. So obviously those are all significantly different from 0 in a decent sample. Of what do we have here? Let's take a look. We have a sample size of 500, so all these correlations should be statistically significant, and then also that means the covariances should also be significant, and that means the independence model here is completely wrong. So that can be rejected, and it does make sense to fit a model that models those relationships between the variables. So that's one reason why Mplus provides this baseline model chi-square as well, so that we can test this independence model. And so the only concern here would be if the test were non-significant. So if you found that this model fit well, then it would tell you, well, maybe I should rethink my plans for modeling these data, because if the variables aren't correlated, then it may not make sense to fit any kind of model for the relationships. Also, that could be a sign that your data is wrong, right? So if you find that this isn't significant, then oftentimes this is a sign of a data error, or that Mplus maybe reads the data incorrectly, or your variable list is incorrect, the order of the variables is not correct, or something like that. It would always make me suspicious if that independence model or baseline model chi-square were non-significant, and then something is weird, okay? So that's one reason to look at that. And then the other reason is that we have certain fit indices that are based on the comparison of the target model chi-square that we looked at initially and this independence model chi-square. And those are the so-called comparative fit indices, the CFI and the TLI. Those are also called incremental fit indices because they look at how much better your target model fits than the very basic independence model. So in those formulas for the CFI and TLI, the Tucker-Lewis index, the two chi-square values are compared, and also the degrees of freedom for the target model versus the baseline model are compared, and then that is summarized in a single number in those indices. And so the better or the more your target model has a lower chi-square than the baseline model, the better these fit indices will look. And so ideally they should be 1.0 or even bigger. So they should be close to 1 for a good fit. And so values that are close to 1 for those indices indicate that your target model explains the data a lot better than the baseline or independence model. So that's another reason why this chi-square test of model fit for the baseline model is also provided, because that is the information that goes into the computation of the CFI and TLI incremental fit statistics. I hope you found this video useful. Please subscribe to this channel, leave a comment in the comment section, and check out the description for more videos and workshops related to statistics, structural equation modeling, and other techniques. And I'll see you next time.